New day, new story time. Hello, welcome in. It's time to watch another reaction video. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and join the family. And if you are returning, let's get straight into today's story time.
My sister had a baby with my father. Let's talk about it. I know there's a lot of true crime people that I follow on this app, and this is a story that you probably would love to listen to, and if you want to take a deep dive, stick around. We're going to go off of timelines first and details later. If you guys have any questions or want a story time on specific details, please let me know in the comments and I'll be glad to share them with you. The reason I'm making this video is because I do hold a lot of trauma and I'm not in therapy, and I feel like my story could potentially help someone else in this situation and give them a voice. Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm 26 years old and my father was put in prison in 2013. So like I said, we're going to start on timelines, and from the very beginning, my sister was born in 93, I was born in 99. My father is my sister's stepfather technically. He raised her from the time she was 4 years old up until she was 18 years old. Her real father was not actively in her life. My father was, so she called him dad. That was her dad. My father was an over-the-road truck driver, and a lot of times addiction comes along with that kind of job, and my mother was also an addict as well. My sister started getting abused when she was younger by my father, and DCF was involved and took me and my sister out of my parents' care and placed us with our grandparents. I was placed with my dad's parents and my sister was placed with my mom's parents. During this time of being placed with my grandparents and my sister being placed with grandparents, my mom decided to stay. Not only did she stay, she thought it was a good idea to get pregnant with my younger brother. My younger brother was born in 2000. We were living in Pensacola, Florida in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single-wide mobile home. Mind you, my parents are heavy in addiction at this point, and the abuse still continued once we were placed back in their care. My parents constantly were physically fighting each other, arguing constantly. It was terrible. A couple years go by and my parents decide that they are going to get clean and get on a straight and narrow path. We moved to Cantonment, Florida. I'm not sure the year, but as a child I remember thinking to myself, this is amazing. We're going from a trailer to a block home with a pool and acreage. We're going to have our own bedrooms instead of 3 children all piled into one room. I thought it was going to be great. Little did I know, it was going to get worse. My parents decided to leave the addiction in the past, and my father decided to pick up another addiction with alcohol. And it was extremely severe. The abuse in the home continued to happen all the way up until my father was put away in prison in 2013. My mother claims that she didn't know how to get away from this man. There was no opportunity for her to ever leave him. Blah, 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 blah. Now that I'm an adult myself with children, I know in my heart and mind that if something were to ever be happening in my household with my spouse and my child, I would leave. And he would probably leave in a body bag. But moving forward, the abuse with my sister and my father continued to happen in the house in Cantonment where we had lived. The man that owned the house also owned a lawn care company, and my mother started working for him. The lawn business was ran out of the backyard where we were living and renting the house. We became extremely close with the owner of the house. He was like an uncle to me. We would go to his house. We would have parties and things like that, get-togethers and whatnot. And you might be thinking, why is this important? But we will get there. We lived in this house for probably the longest period of time we've ever lived in a house. While living in the house in Cantonment, the abuse continued to get more and more and more severe, and I didn't ever think it was going to stop. Also, keep in mind, years are going by, I'm getting older. As I'm getting older, I'm starting to question things like, why is my dad locking me and my brother out of the house and telling us to go clean the pool or go play outside, right? My brother and I would try to go back inside the house and the door would be locked, and my sister and my dad would be in the home alone. At probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe younger, I definitely thought something was weird. As a child, with the abuse going on, I was extremely terrified to say anything to anyone. My father was an extremely terrifying man. Extreme. My reasoning as a child for not saying anything was I was scared if I mentioned that something weird was going on with my mom, my sister, and my dad to my mom. If I said anything to my mom, I was terrified that my mom was going to approach him. She was going to tell him what I had told her, and then he would retaliate and hurt me. So I never said anything. I never said anything. And yes, to this day, I do have guilt, and I sleep with that every single day. Now, the crazy part that comes in is, like I told you, the guy that owned the business, running it out of the backyard and the home we were renting from him, approached my mother and questioned her about my father and my sister's relationship, that it was weird. Mind you, this came out of the blue, according to my mom.
If a stranger literally approaching you, but at that point he wasn't a stranger, he was a family friend approaching you because he said, how a mother is not noticing anything crazy? Like, how is a child, afraid to tell her mother, but a whole friend of the family sees it before the mother?
According to my mom, she questioned my dad and my sister, and they said, no, nothing's going on, right? Me, as a mom today, if any outsider is coming to tell me that something is going on, or I think something's going on with your spouse and your child, done. Before it even got to this point, it should have been done. So the landlord / lawn business owner that had questioned my mom about my dad and my sister's relationship, his relationship with my dad became pretty rocky, and my parents decided that we were going to move. We moved to a house on Abbey Lane in Pensacola.
It became rocky because the dad knew that man knew exactly what was going on, and that's why he moved his family out.
A house on Abbey Lane in Pensacola, Florida, and not long after we moved in, maybe several months, is when the big secret came out. I can go into detail about the night that everything did go out. If you guys want a story time on that, please drop it in the comments and I will be glad to tell you that story. Now, when everything did come out, my father denied every bit of everything up until there was a child born, and DNA proved that 99.999% DNA was his. Mind you, my sister did not find out that she was pregnant until she was several months along, and it was right before we were going to go to trial. Trial happened in July of 2013, and she had the baby in February of 2013. Now that pretty much sums up the timeline of everything that I've endured in my childhood. However, there is so many stories that I have about things that my parents have put me through and my siblings through. So if you would like to hear a story, or you're interested about everything that happened, feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to use this as a diary / therapy session / trauma dump. I don't care. I just want my story out there. It's been so long, and I've sat for a long, long time, and I just want to feel some sort of justice for myself. And my father being locked away in prison is not the justice that you guys think that I need. It's more than that. I hold trauma. I will hold the trauma for as long as I'm alive. So if you're interested, please stick around. I want to share this with everyone. I want to share this story. I want to help someone if they have been through something similar. Yeah. And that's me and my life. Did your sister keep the baby? Do y'all still talk? And is your brother in therapy? My sister did not keep the baby. The baby was given up for adoption, and that is as far as I'm going to speak on that situation. As far as the relationship with my siblings and I have 2 older siblings that are from my dad's previous marriage before he got with my mom that I do speak to. However, unfortunately, my youngest brother and my sister, we pretty much just went our separate ways, and we no longer speak to each other. Before my dad was even sentenced, my mom introduced a new man into our lives and decided after my father was sentenced that she was going to relocate us to South Florida. Once we were relocated to South Florida, she decided to tell me that I was no longer allowed to have communication with my oldest brother and sister from my dad's previous marriage, and that just tore me apart. Growing up, I never really got to have that relationship with them, and my mother knew that. My mother was also a very evil woman towards them when my father was around. Mind you, my dad's oldest 2 children are my mom's stepkids, and my mother treated them terrible. For some reason, my mom has this jealousy just written in her. I don't know what it is, and that is a lot of the reason her and I do not speak today. The reason it tore me apart so bad when we did move down south and she told me I couldn't have contact with them anymore is because before we moved and after my father was locked away, my mother decided she would let me have that relationship with my brother and my sister, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I was always staying at my sister's house. I was able to help her out with my nieces and my nephew, and I genuinely thrived. I thrived, and I loved it. So when it was ripped away from me, something in me just crumbled. After that, I pretty much became a loose cannon. I was a really, really rough teenager, but, you know, I didn't have the resources that I deserved to have at the time, like therapy and counseling and stuff like that as a child. I did not have that. It wasn't a priority to my mother until I started to act out, and then all of a sudden it's, I'm going to send you to a boot camp, and then she sent me to a youth shelter. I was put in a psych ward. And then later down the road in my adulthood, I have a baby, my son, and she gets jealous of the relationship that I have with my own child and the way I'm raising my child because she didn't raise her children in the best way. So the father of my son and I did split up. Everything is peachy and gravy and co-parenting and doing all the things we need to do. However, she decided she's going to try to measle her way into that relationship and try to get my son permanently taken away from me. Not only that, but she would post pictures and message me and all of these things that she was doing with my son knowing that I at that point in time couldn't see my kid. I am so grateful today for the relationship that my son's father and I have now. And, his parents were able to see past my mom finally because she had...
That is weird that her mother fed off the energy of getting her daughter's children taken away. That's weird.
Mom finally, because she had an explosion of one of her crazy psychotic moments, trying to control how my son is being raised, and they cut it out. I had been asking and telling, my son's grandparents and my son's father, please don't let this woman in my son's life. I don't want my son around her. I know the type of person she is. I know how she raised us. I don't want her around my son, especially if I'm not there. It hurt me for...
And they literally should have respected her. Like, they don't know her experience. They don't know what she went through. So why not respect what she's saying and not allow her son around her mother? Like, it is her child at the end of the day.
It hurt me for a very, very long time that they still allowed her around my child. But, like I said, she showed her true colors one time, and that's all it took for them to realize my mom is not a good person either. The only reason in my head I can think why my own mother would do something like that is jealousy. She didn't get to raise her kids the way I'm raising mine. I am a damn good mother, and my mom knows that. And taking that from me is something that she thrived on. She loved it in that moment. Those are days, months I didn't get with my own kid because a narrative that she had spun to my son's father and his parents. My mother and I will never have a relationship again as long as she is alive. I don't want anything to do with her. There's nothing in this world that could bring me back to that woman. Not one thing. And that's unfortunate in itself. Clearly, I'm still hurt about the situation, and I have a lot of healing to do in that department, but I'm getting there, and I do appreciate you guys because letting this out and talking about all of this is really helping me more than any of you will know. As far as therapy for my younger brother, I'm not sure if he is or not. Like I said, we don't speak. I have tried to reach out to him. I do know that him and my mom have a close relationship. Unfortunately, I do think manipulation is going on there as well. But there's nothing I can do at this point. He's a grown adult, and he knows right from wrong.
Sometimes you just have to let people experience their own experience with somebody. Like, let them learn who that person is on their own.
And he knows right from wrong. And, I just pray one day he's able to see. And I'll always be there for him to come to. So to sum it all up, I talk to my two oldest siblings, and the rest of them I do not talk to at all.
That was just proving that her dad was arrested on the exact charges that she said.
If it's not much, can you tell the story of what happened the day everything blows up? So, the day that everything came out, my mother had gone to work in the morning time. It was over summer break for school, so all of us kids were home. My mother and my father never really got along much, so it wasn't anything new to wake up to them arguing. My mom left for work, and I'm not sure, it was probably mid-afternoon. For some reason, my dad decided to contact his ex-wife. While he was on the phone speaking with her, my sister and I had been folding laundry, and we decided to stick our ear up to the back door so we could hear the phone call conversation. I can't remember verbatim what he said, but something along the lines of him wanting his ex-wife back. When the phone call conversation ended, my sister and I went back in the living room and started folding laundry. My sister was really upset about the phone call conversation that she heard, and you could visibly see the look on her face of anger. When my father came inside the house, he looked at my sister while me and my little brother were there, and he stated, "Are you mad we didn't HUMP today?" So doing that in front of me and my younger brother, obviously we were at an age we knew what that word meant. We were confused why he was saying this to my sister, but not confused at the same time. At this point in my head, he had just admitted what he had done and had been doing to my sister in front of all of us. I acted totally shocked. I was shocked, but I was still scared to say anything to my mother. My sister begged me not to say anything to my mother. When my mother did arrive at home, I ran outside, and I just kept repeating over and over again, "I hate him, I hate him, I hate him." My mom was asking, what's going on, and none of us would say anything. After my mom got home, my father had left the house completely. He was not there anymore, and I'm sure in his head he was scared we were about to say something. He comes home later that night and goes right in his room and goes to sleep. My mom notices a bottle of Dream Water sitting up on the windowsill. I'm not sure if you guys know, but it's something that helps you sleep, but he had drank the entire bottle. My mother says something told her to go through his phone while he was sleeping. She says that she found an explicit text message that was supposed to be sent to my sister that ended up in drafts in his phone. She confronted my sister in the living room holding a GUN in her hand, asking, "Has he done something to you? Has he done something to you?" My sister said yes. My mother goes running down the hallway into the room with the GUN. I follow behind her, and she is pointing the GUN to his face, begging him to wake up. I was able to get the GUN from my mother and give it to my brother, and my little brother went outside with it. 911 was called immediately, and they came out to the house, and we were all removed from the home. They were able to wake him up and take him down to the jail to do interrogation, and he denied every bit of it. When he was done with the interrogation and they let him go again, we were no longer at the house. At that point, we were living in a motel. Later on, a few days later, or the next day after leaving the motel, we do get home to a letter that he had written on the TV stand in the living room. The letter was saying how much he loved us and just wants his family back and nonsense. They later on find him fishing, and they arrest him and leave his truck there for my mother to come get. Now, with that story being told, looking back in my perspective, I feel as if my mom had finally seen something in visible text in her face, something explicit for her to realize that he had done something to her daughter. I do see a few of you in the comments asking if my mother stood up for her after finding out everything, and yes, absolutely, my mom did. I have an issue with it because, yes, she stood up for my sister. However, it should have never gotten to that point, period. And she witnessed so many beatings and so much violence in the house that I cannot fathom that it took that for her to see this man as a monster.
It seems like to me her mother don't like her because she probably feel like she broke up her toxic situation. Because why else would her mother be treating her this way now as a grown adult, and then calling to get her and her child's father to beef with each other, causing him to want to take her child from her? Like, why do you feed off things negative happening to your children? Like, I just don't get it. Now, at the end of the day, I also feel like as a young girl, like, you shouldn't have to feel like it's your fault because you didn't speak up. Like, you shouldn't have to be put in a situation where you feel like if you would have spoke up, it would have prevented stuff, when technically you was experiencing it, but it wasn't happening to you. So at the end of the day, her sister should have spoken up. Like, I just feel like it wasn't her responsibility, as now feeling like it was all her fault if she didn't say anything. Like, yeah, say something. Of course you're scared. Say something if you see something. But at the same time, her sister should have spoken up also. But maybe her sister was also scared, just like she was. Her brother scared, just like she was. So it's just sad to see that she hold a lot of responsibility because she didn't speak up sooner, right? Like, it just seems like it was traumatizing to her, but at the same time she just feel like, oh, if I would have done something, it would have stopped. When technically, a lot of parties should have spoken up, even if it wasn't her, because she was younger than her sister. At the same time, her sister was the one who was experiencing the physical abuse. It's just crazy. But at least she going through the steps of healing, getting herself back together, and now setting boundaries to where her mother can't be cruel to her no more or do low down stuff to her now that she's a mother. Like, she set boundaries and she's moving forward. It's a good thing that her and her child's father are now co-parenting and getting along without her mother in the middle. And it was good that his parents caught it very quick. Like, oh no ma'am, like, we should have listened to your daughter. Like, no more, you can't come around, like, we done. So yeah, drop that in the comment section what you think about this story. Don't forget to like, comment. If you have not subscribed, we got a lot of room over here. Please subscribe to the channel. If you are returning, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace.